All right. All right, we're going live here. To everybody out there who's not in yet, welcome.
What's up?
I'm joined with tonight, Jaythestingray,
Jaythestingray.
and we're going to talk about the X Files episodes 9 through 16 of season 1, which we covered the first day in the video back in October. But the difference is for this, we're going to go live, and we're going to go live from here on out.
Cool.
So we'll see who joins us here. But I guess we can go right into it here with episode 9, Space. Now, did you go back and rewatch these, or?
Yeah, I've rewatched almost all of the ones we're covering today in the recent past. Not maybe not yesterday. I've watched about 3 episodes today, but other than that, I watched them in the past a couple of weeks. We had scheduled this out earlier, so I
Yeah.
didn't have a chance to go back and watch them all again for this.
What are your thoughts on this one?
I like this episode. Probably one of my favorite episodes in this bunch. I feel like it's a little bit different. It
Yeah.
gives us a little something we haven't seen before yet in the show. And I just thought it was a really interesting idea. We've kind of seen the same type story in some movies, probably before and after this episode came out. But I think it's an interesting idea.
Yeah, and the episode we're talking about Space, which is episode 9. Hey, Neopunk, welcome. But the plot, real quick. So this time, Mulder and Scully, they're investigating a possible sabotage in NASA's space shuttle program, and they find that an astronaut that had been Mulder's childhood hero may be possessed by an extraterrestrial spirit, played by Ed Lauder, who I remember from Cujo.
Okay.
And unfortunately, he's passed away, but he's been in quite a few movies. Like this guy, once you've seen him, you'd be like, okay, I know that guy.
Yeah.
He was also in another film recently that I watched called Magic with Anthony Hopkins.
Okay.
The one with the dummy.
Mm-hmm.
A Studio Red Band. Directed by William A. Graham, who I did a little bit of research on this guy. He directed Return to the Blue Lagoon, which I never heard of, but I'm guessing, is that a sequel?
Yeah. I don't know that I've ever seen that one, but I remember seeing it on the shelves in the video store.
And written by Chris Carter. Is there anybody, like, as far as the cast, that is notable besides that Louder to you, or in this, or?
I don't believe anyone stood out to me in this episode, but
Because I
could be
did,
wrong.
yeah, I looked up the Susanna Thompson, her character in this. I mean, I kind of did like a quick little IMDb search. For people that are fans of Star Trek Voyager, she was the Borg Queen in like 3 episodes.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
that's cool.
And she's still working. She recently was in *Malignant*, the horror film that came out last year.
Okay.
I think what I remember about this one, real quick, I like that Louder in the episode. I like the scene. What do you think? Some of the shots of where he's kind of being possessed, where he's laying in bed and.
Yeah, some of that stuff doesn't age very well. Some of the CG stuff that they use in some of those shots, but I think it works. It works fine.
Yeah.
Can't complain about too much of that stuff.
And as far as like some things of note here, because I was kind of looking up some trivia here, this was intended as a bottle episode to save money by being shot in a single location, but still went over budget. Visual effects supervisor Matt Beck had only 4 days to create the special effects needed for this one.
Yeah, I think it was also creating that whole the space center where they all were. For a lot of the time, I think that was pretty expensive as well. So
Now, was that a real location or was it like a set?
I think they had to build it all. I think it was a set, from what I read earlier.
Yeah. Okay, it's funny we mentioned that. The episode was conceived on a low budget. Okay, we talked about that. Uh, the episode made use of a significant amount of inexpensive stock footage from NASA. The construction of mission control. We were just talking about that. Yeah, it was subject to cost overruns, eventually leading the episode to become the most expensive of the first season. And apparently, Chris Carter is not a favorite of this one.
Hmm.
He said that it was very poorly received. It's his least favorite. I don't know of the whole season, but I think it's a decent one, if anything else.
Yeah, I think as we get into more of these, you're gonna see me not like quite a few. I
Oh,
think
for real?
yeah, I don't know. I think just we had such a good run with that original. What was it? 8 we did before.
Yeah.
Like there was so many good ones in there, and it's just, I mean, we get to meet some interesting characters, but I feel like the episodes aren't nearly as solid this run.
Okay, because I can agree with I know we're kind of getting ahead here a little bit, but like episode 15, 16, it kind of like drops for me a little bit compared to
Yeah.
the previous ones. Uh, I mean, is there anything else about this one that you want to mention, or
No, I just thought it was interesting that he was essentially possessed back on the spacewalk. I don't know exactly what year that was, but apparently he was responsible for Challenger
yeah,
and a bunch of the other accidents that had happened prior. So
yeah? I just noticed that my mic was way over here. So what the
no,
heck? Let me fix it up here a little bit.
it didn't sound bad to me.
All right, I'll keep it where it's at then. I'm like, wait, where's my mic at? That's way over there. uh, how would you sum up? How would you sum up 2022? I guess a little random question here.
Um, Me personally, I really haven't watched enough movies really to form an opinion. I know there's a lot of foreign stuff I want to get into that I haven't had a chance to, and there's been a lot of stuff I've liked. I know a lot of people kind of crapped on Scream and the Texas Chainsaw, the Netflix, and I liked a lot of those. So I think we had some decent horror movies come out. Wasn't the biggest fan of Halloween Ends, but
Yeah, I did enjoy the Batman. I rewatched that one
oh yeah,
again. Uh,
that was a good one.
Top Gun Maverick was really good. I got that on Blu-ray, and I got a couple of other Blu-rays recently, like Bullet Train and Nope,
Oh
and I
yeah.
haven't seen those yet.
Oh, you haven't seen them? Okay, cool.
Yeah. So, but
Yeah, I like both of those. So
thank you, Matt. Um, but I thought this was a decent episode. Not my favorite of the few that we're going to talk about here, but I like Ed Lauder in it. It was cool to see him. I'm like, okay, I recognize that guy. I like the fact that Mulder, that was his hero in the episode. He looks up to this character.
right.
But the next one, episode 10, Falling Angel. When Mulder and Scully investigate a mysterious crash site, they find that the official reports of the incident may be covering up the crash of a UFO. Meanwhile, Mulder meets a UFOologist who believes maybe a former abductee.
Mm-hmm.
This to me is a really good one.
Yeah, I definitely like the introduction of Max, who we'll see later on in the series.
Oh, he comes back later?
Yeah, it's quite a bit later, I believe. Maybe like season 9 or something.
Okay. I thought maybe I saw that somewhere, but I wasn't sure.
I always thought he was similar to the guy in the Who are the three nerds? You know, the lone
Oh,
gunman.
the lone gunman, yeah.
He reminds me of one of those guys, and I always kind of got him mixed up that it wasn't actually the same person. But yeah,
It's funny you mention that because I thought I read somewhere that character for this episode was kind of a precursor to the lone gunman.
Okay, well that makes sense then.
But this episode here is directed by Larry Shaw, who has directed a lot of TV, like The Flash. He directed over 150 episodes of Desperate Housewives. So for people that are fans of that show,
well, you got to get paid somehow.
Yeah. Written by Chris Carter, Howard Gordon, and Alex Ganza. Is there anything that you enjoy about this one, or?
Yeah, I mean, I like the episode. It's another. I guess it's the main plot. I don't know, how would you call it?
The mythology.
Not a yeah, exactly.
Okay.
But it's part of that. Mulder's still looking for answers, and yeah, I like Max, and the ending is just kind of ambiguous to me, and I really wanted more of a like a finite answer there, but I guess this show gives you a lot of that, so I shouldn't be surprised. But
yeah, for what I remember, I mean, like I said, I watched these episodes like the previous week ago, and I really like this episode. I like that. I think you have the Deep Throat character. He comes back here for a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I really enjoyed that character.
Yeah.
And there's some people in here that I recognize, like Marshall Bell, who was like the colonel.
Okay.
For people that remember, he was the coach in Elm Street 2. He was a Total Recall. He was the bad guy in Twins with Arnold. Very recognizable actor. Do you recognize him from anything? Or I mean, I know
I definitely should from all the things you just mentioned, but not right off. I'm trying to look him up here. Is there older pictures or newer pictures I'm finding of him? So
yeah, and I think he's still around too, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I believe so. I don't think he's working anymore, but
I think maybe I heard like he does conventions now. But the chief, the character Chief McGrath in this one, is played by Frederick Coffin. And I know I've seen him. I remember, I think he was in Hard to Kill with Seagal. For people that are fans of that one, I think he was Seagal's partner in that movie.
Okay.
And he's been a bunch of stuff, Wayne's World and what have you. And I think he's passed away. The character of Max is played by Scott Bellis. He was in Time Cop. The character of Ricky that I can't remember that character though.
Time Cop.
Yeah, that's what. When I was looking up on IMDb, it gave me like his more notable projects. The character of Max, and apparently he was in Time Cop, but I can't remember the character he played.
Yeah, he was in The Outer Limits, Smallville. I don't remember him in those either.
But I thought he was good in this episode. And, I forgot he came back later.
Yeah. I actually really feel for his character in this. I think he does a great job. Like when he starts having the seizures.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I really feel sorry for the guy.
Oh yeah, that's right. I remember those scenes. And so was it an alien? Because I'm trying to remember here. Because like the military was tracking this thing that was going through the forest, and it was like camouflaged.
Mm-hmm. Kind of like a predator thing.
That's what I thought of too.
Yeah. I think probably everybody did.
Well, it's funny because I think there's like a behind the scenes picture of like some guy wearing a red suit.
Mm-hmm.
and they just CGI'd over it. But this is like the early days of effects and wearing the suit.
Right. And was it? It came out of whatever crashed, right?
Yeah,
The craft that Mulder was trying to do research on.
yeah, I believe. I just remember really liking it. And this is again going off of 2 weeks ago, trying to remember. I mean, I do remember this episode, and I mean, but I think before when we talked about mythology, but you were more of a fan of the Monster of the Week.
Yeah, just I don't know. I just got kind of bored with it over time. They kind of kept giving you a little bit more and stretching it along. It just kind of got old to me.
Yeah, that's a good thought though.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely agree with that. Which I haven't seen Twin Peaks. Am I missing out?
You might like it. I mean, I enjoy it quite a bit, but
I think I have the second season, but I need to get the first season.
it's one of those shows. It seems like people either love it or hate it, like really polarizing. So,
Have you seen the revival?
Yeah,
Is it better?
I liked it.
Is it better than the X-Files revival?
They're probably about on par with each other. I mean, that season 3 of Twin Peaks really gets crazy. A lot of wild stuff happens.
And I know I'm talking crap about the X-Files revival, and maybe we'll get there.
I'd like to go and watch it again. Honestly, it's been so long since I saw it. When it first came out.
Yeah, maybe I like to give it another watch again. I mean, I remember liking some episodes in there, but there's some ones. The one where I know I'm getting ahead of myself here a little bit. The one I thought was the worst was Mulder dancing in the club to "Achy Breaky Heart." I'm like, what is this?
Yeah,
You're
getting a little too meta there.
But in regards to this episode here, it was the mostly well received with a retrospective of the first season. Entertainment Weekly describing it as a very cool looking episode that does the best job so far of illuminating the agent's position with the relation to the government. And yet the character of Bax was a precursor to the lone gunman.
Okay.
And yeah, I mean, it was cool to see Deep Throat in there for a little bit. Jerry Harden, more of a expanding of his character. Was this the second time that we seen Deep Throat, or did he come back before?
It's either second or third. I'm trying to remember. Didn't he die, and that's why he quit coming on the show, like during the.
Oh, Deep Throat.
Yeah, the character of Deep
the
Throat.
finale of season 1. Is that what you're referring to?
Is that when he died? Okay.
Yeah.
Because I was trying to remember how long he stayed in the show.
Yeah, I think the first season.
Okay.
And this is me not like having watched the show and the whole entire thing in a couple of years.
Yeah, I mean, I know I sound stupid, but I mean, it's a lot of episodes to get to remember. We're talking a 45-minute.
Yeah.
Per episode, so it's a lot to try to remember.
Yeah, we're and I don't know how we're going to do season 2 yet, but I mean, I know we're kind of doing like 8 at a time because I think season 1 has like 24 episodes, and then I think like season 2 has 25. But yeah, when we get to that bridge, we'll figure it out. But yeah, Fallen Angel, really good episode. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, Lauren mentions Ice and Beyond the Sea.
Yeah.
I think it's coming up. We did Ice last time, right?
Yeah, we did. Ice was in season. I mean, yeah, it's season 1, but episode 8, I believe. And Beyond the Sea is a great one, which we'll talk about here.
Mm.
The next one. Oh, wait a second. Jethro dies at the end of the season. Yeah, that's what
Okay.
I thought.
Maybe that's what I'm thinking of. Yeah.
Um, so the next one we're going to talk about, episode 11, Eve. When Mulder and Scully investigate two seemingly identical murders that occurred simultaneously, I don't know if I said that word right, but F it. Thousands of miles apart, they find that both victims' daughters may be the product of a secret human cloning project created by the government. What you think about Eve?
I like this episode. I think
Yeah,
it really kind of starts the exploration of the cloning, which they really get into more as the show goes on.
yeah,
And I thought those girls are really creepy. I think they
yeah,
really kind of sold it for me.
yeah. I think they did a really good job here in this episode. And a real quick note, uh, which this is according to IMDb, so take it with a grain of salt. But apparently, for the two evil twins here, take a guess who was considered for these two characters.
93 twins, I imagine.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know.
Mary Kate Olsen and Ashley Olsen.
Oh, okay, damn it! I should have got.
I don't know. They could have worked, but I thought these actresses here, Erica and Sabrina Crevens, who played Cindy and Tina Simmons, I thought they were really good.
Mm-hmm. Well, one of the Olsons killed Heath Ledger, so that's. Oh, sorry.
Oh, too soon. uh, apparently, too, like I've heard before, like the X Files, they would have like X Files conventions,
I've heard about that. Yeah.
and apparently, like these two twins, they would show up quite a bit for these conventions. I've
That's
heard that
cool.
before. I don't know if they still do them or not.
Probably not.
I mean, I
I
wonder
don't know.
where they're,
Maybe so.
what?
I said maybe so. I don't know. I don't know if the show's really as popular as it used to be.
I mean, I don't think they're still acting anymore, but I'd be curious to see where they're at now.
Yeah.
Um, but in this episode, yeah, the character of Dr. Sally Kendrick, played by Harriet Sansom Harris. And do you remember her from anything, or?
Um, Not that I can think of. A lot of these people are just like working actors, so they do a lot of stuff that I
And
may
you
not
wonder
remember.
too.
She's
If
done
I
all
say
kinds of stuff.
you wonder too, like because they shot in Vancouver, like all of these, I'm sure, are like Vancouver hires and stuff.
Right.
Such. Um, but I did, for people out there, like I did kind of write down what she's known for. She was in Adam's Family Values, 28 episodes of Desperate Housewives.
Another Desperate Housewife.
Yeah, more connection to that. And I forgot to mention, directed by Fred Gerber, who directed a lot of TV stuff. He directed something that I remember vaguely called Rent-A-Kid from 1995. And the only reason I remember that is because Leslie Nelson's in it. And I think like Christopher Lloyd, but that's a very vague memory. I mean, you can look this guy up. I mean, is there anything, I don't know if anything sticks out to you
Um,
as far as his filmography or.
I mean, she's still working. So,
Oh, he's still working?
oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were talking about Harriet Harris still.
Oh, she's okay. She's still working too. Okay.
She was in Licorice Pizza, which I haven't seen, but I know it's a fairly new movie.
Oh, yeah, I did hear about that. Is that didn't that star the son of Philip Seymour Hoffman?
I think
His
you're
son?
right. Yeah. It's a popular director did it. Let me see. I got it right here.
Because I remember hearing about
But
that.
Paul Thomas Anderson, yeah, and Cooper Hoffman.
Mm. And you have Deep Throat comes back here.
Yeah.
Which I forgot about. You see, that's why it's good to, especially for me. I don't know why I forget things a little bit easily now. But I
Mhm.
have to like go back and see. Okay, Deep Throat was in this episode. I forgot about. I
Yeah.
forgot about that. I don't know what's wrong with me. Like memories slipping.
It's getting older, man. Yeah. I'm the same way.
Um, but this episode was read by Chris Carter, Kenneth Biller, and Chris Brancato. Yeah, Eve. This one earned a Nelson household rating of a 6.8. Pretty much means 6.4 million households in its initial broadcast.
Was that good back then? I mean, I know that would probably be insanely good right now, but
Yeah, I mean, this is 1993. I didn't write
mhm.
down the dates, but I mean, assuming it's 93, 94. Does that sound
Yeah, I
like
believe it
a
was
number?
93. Yeah.
What do you think? 6.4 million households. Is that a
Yeah, I would just like to get a. I mean, it stayed on the air, so it must have been good enough. But I'm sure it did much better numbers going forward.
and it received positive reviews from critics. The episode was pitched to series creator Chris Carter by freelance writers Biller and Brancato under the title of The Girls from Greenwich, with the focus being on genetic experiments conducted on a set of twins. The producers initially looked for twins to play the roles of Tina and Cindy in Los Angeles, but child labor laws made using children from they're so difficult. What the heck? I just copy and pasted information. I'm trying to read it. Okay, so the child labor laws made using children from there so difficult that they instead searched locally in Vancouver. Okay, that makes sense.
So they're a little more slack
Yeah.
on the child labor laws. I know those got really strict after Twilight Zone, the movie.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
They really cracked down on a lot of that stuff.
Well, since you mentioned that, what are your thoughts on that?
On that movie.
Or like that situation?
Oh, I'm not very pleased with how a lot of people handled that. I think a lot of people were, passing the buck on to someone else. It's their fault. It's their fault. When I think a lot of people, one of the main guys directly responsible, kind of got off scot free and is still working. So,
Yeah. Oh, he's still working, John Landis.
mm-hmm. I don't know if he has anything like in the works or anything, but I mean, I don't think he's retired as far as I know.
Jeez.
But a lot of that stuff's just come out, and I wasn't really aware of a lot of that stuff until they did some docs on it and stuff. So I wasn't aware of the gross negligence on the set. So, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's pretty sad. The whole thing is.
Yeah, I just wanted to get your hot take on that since you mentioned it.
Yeah, I'm trying to be a little more. I don't know, not as nasty as I would be on another channel. Trying to church it up for you a little bit here.
Oh, it's fine. You can unchurch if you like. The final episode of the first season was the first half, fully truly great ratings. Okay.
Yeah, so I was reading, and basically what that means is 6.4% of people that own televisions were watching that episode, and 12% of people watching television at that time were watching this episode.
Oh,
So I
really?
don't know if that's good or not. So
12%.
doesn't sound great, right? But I mean, it's got to be.
I would think that 12%, I mean, that's still, I mean, in 1993 or 4,
Mm-hmm.
that's not bad. Uh, I mean, I think that it would definitely become more and more popular. But I mean, the pilot, I mean, if I remember, we were talking about it before, didn't that get like 12 million viewers?
It did really well, didn't it? And then like the second episode, I think did really well too.
It was some crazy number. I'd like to know what the finale got. The finale of season 1 here.
Yeah, that's a good question.
But I'm trying to remember like certain scenes, things that I really liked about this episode. I liked the one scene that really sticks out to me is where the twins they try to poison Mulder with the Diet Coke.
Yeah, and Scully too. I think.
Yeah,
I think they put that. What was it foxglove or something like that?
yeah,
Some type of poison.
and I mean, I thought the twins were really good here, creepy at times.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I can just say, I thought it was a very solid episode.
Yeah, I agree. And the lady that played the older Eve, that they also poisoned.
Mm-hmm.
I think she did a good job, and it was nice seeing her. She knows what these kids are, and it's the same as what she is. So
Yeah,
she was trying to kill them.
and I really liked it. I mean, I'm trying to think what else to mention here. You got the government involvement, the cloning.
Mm-hmm.
Would you consider this a monster of the week, or
That's a good question. Maybe a little bit of both.
yeah? Because you do have Deep Throat. He comes back here
Mm-hmm.
for a little bit. It's just maybe you could say that whenever you see him, you could just consider it mythology, but it's also you got some freaks here.
Yeah.
So I think it's a good hybrid.
How I guess we're supposed to assume they've used some sort of alien DNA and altered their DNA to give them special abilities, because they know what each other are doing, across the country. So,
I mean, you can look at these two girls and believe that they came from somewhere else.
yeah,
But that's how good they play their parts.
absolutely.
But the next one here, we'll talk about episode 12. To me, this is one of my favorites. Fire. In this episode, Mulder and Scully are visited by a police detective who studied at Oxford with Mulder, who enlists their aid with a case of involving a serial killer capable of pyrokinesis.
So we get to meet Mulder's ex.
Yeah, played by Amanda Pays. And I remember her. Yeah, she was in the Flash series back in the day with John Wesley Shipp. And the film Leviathan. I don't know if you've ever seen that.
Yeah.
I think she's underrated as an actress. And I think she came back for the new Flash for like maybe an episode or two.
Okay.
I didn't watch it. I haven't really seen much of the new Flash, but I think she's still working. I think she's a little underrated as an actress.
Oh yeah, she's done all kinds of stuff.
And once again, directed by Larry Shaw, written by Chris Carter. Also in this one, you have Mark Shepard as Bob the caretaker. What'd you think of this one? I mean,
I enjoyed it quite a bit. I really like him, Mark Shepard's character. He gives me like a Ralph Fiennes kind of vibe or something like that. Like and this is this the first episode we've actually left? I guess not the U.S. I think they've been in Canada before, but the North America. Is this the first episode?
I think so because I'm trying to remember. Like, it was interesting to rewatch this again. I'm like, okay, they went to England. They went outside the country for this one, and it's also the way it ended. It makes you think that this character is going to come back. I know we're getting ahead of here a little bit, but this the character of Bob the caretaker, that you think this character is going to come back at some point, and he never did.
Yeah, I guess they made it to where they could if they needed to, bring him back.
But for people that are fans of Supernatural, Mark Sheppard is the shapeshifter in that series.
Okay.
I don't know if you've ever seen Supernatural or.
I've only seen the first season. And it's one of those things, I get really intimidated by shows with like a huge number of, episodes and seasons. It's just kind of, that's how, I like to finish stuff. So
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm going to be watching this show for like the next 2 years if I do it, so. But I've been told by many people that it's a great show and I should watch it.
Yeah, I've seen like the first 4 or 5 seasons, and then it started to get really apocalyptic.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, okay, maybe I should just, I should have went back and continued, but for some reason I stopped watching. Mm-hmm. I mean, I really liked it. I dug it when I had saw, but I do remember he was in that. I mean, I can't think of any other people here in the cast that really stood out to me.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, some interesting things of note here. The character Phoebe, played by Amanda Hayes, was originally intended to be a recurring role because Chris Carter admired Amanda Hayes and liked working. He liked working Sherlock Holmes references into the script. But the fan reaction to this rival to Scully proved so strong that this idea was swiftly dropped.
Mm-hmm. I get that. We've already got one, strong, optimistic woman in the.
Do you think that she should have came back? For more episodes, or?
Yeah, I mean, maybe not a main cast member or anything, but yeah, for an on-off episode, sure. But I mean, isn't she kind of a bitch too? Like she like kind of like manipulated Mulder and like kind of made fun of his fear of fire.
Yeah.
Which we find that out in this episode, that he's afraid of fire.
Yeah, that's what I remember about this episode. Yeah, she's kind of a little bit manipulative.
Mm-hmm.
Rewatching it again, I'm like, it kind of makes you, I don't know, it made it seem like, okay, this character is going to come back like the villain, like, the way they ended it. You're thinking that, okay, he's going to come back at some point. And I like Amanda Hayes. Mm-hmm. It would have been interesting to see her come back. Like maybe you could have had her come back 2 or 3 more times throughout the show.
Yeah.
But I liked her in the episode. And apparently David Duchovny, I was reading right here, suffered the only injury on set, burning his hand, which left a small permanent scar.
Oh, wow. So that was real fire. I mean, it was right there on them. Wow.
Yeah, it was, I like to know, like, what scene that it was. But yeah, you just said it too. Mulder's personal fear and dislike of fire is revealed here. The series creator, Chris Carter, called Fire a very popular episode, and I'm just somewhat happy this is what he said. But the way it turned out, having written it and imagined it in certain ways, I think it could have been a lot better, although I thought it was generally well-directed. The show felt very wide to me, very loose, and lacking some things. Don't know what he means by that, but... So Chris Carter, really likes this one, and I mean, is there anything about this one that you really enjoyed, or?
I just really think that Mark Sheppard really is what makes this episode so memorable to me, because his character is so fleshed out, like when he's talking to the kids and doing like magic tricks and stuff. He's just so great at the character and really gives life to that character, like it gives it gives it legs, and I don't know. I just think he does a great job, and he's really what made the episode what it is.
And apparently your dog agrees too.
I'm sorry, man.
I know you're fine. You're fine. I know you're good. No, I don't mind. But I thought he was very creepy at
Mm.
times too. Um, I don't know what it is. Let's see. Hey Gary, but I thought the way he played the character was very creepy. Um, and I liked Mark Shepard in this. Some of the moments where he would set things on fire, and even like the way he gets it at the end was a little bit creepy,
Hmm.
where he kind of he's on fire and stuff in the yard, and the people are watching. But
Yeah, definitely could have brought him back though if they wanted to.
now, would you say that this one? I mean, where do you feel as far as like, is this a great episode or an excellent one, or is this a what do you think?
For season one in general, I'd say it's probably about in the middle, but for this run, it's probably my favorite of 9 through
16.
16. Yeah.
All right, yeah, it's definitely. I would say of the 9 through 16, this could be my second favorite one so far. Um, I just thought it was a great episode, and you know, I thought I liked Amanda Pay's in it. Mark Shepard's creepy. Um, some of the fire effects is really good for 93 or
Hmm.
4. I mean, this is way before CGI, and I really appreciate that they used a real fire. It's tangible. Um, so a great job with the effects of the fire, and I really enjoyed the atmosphere. Let's see, Bad Influence. Have you seen that one? Random comment, but
Bad Influence by Rob Lowe. It sounds familiar. I don't know that I've seen it though.
um, but so overall, I say a great one. And of this 9 through 16, it's probably my second favorite.
Hmm.
Next up, episode 13, Beyond the Sea. And the plot of this one sees Scully's father die and her skepticism put to the test by Luther Lee Boggs, a prisoner on death row claims to have psychic powers. This is I would say my favorite one.
Yeah, I mean, this is probably one of the more popular episodes from this season, I would imagine.
Yeah, and I definitely agree with this comment here. But this one, you had Brad Dourif as Luther Lee Boggs. And well, first off, directed by David Nutter, who would go on to direct more episodes of the X Files. I think if I think according to IMDb, he directed like 15. It could be
Okay.
more than that. But he also worked on Millennium and Supernatural, I think. Uh, Written by Chris Carter, Glenn Morgan, and James Wong. Wait a second. Delilah Shepard was telling me that she was the original choice. Okay, who's Delilah Shepard again?
I'm not sure.
Is there any relation to Mark Shepard? But this one, like I said, you had Brad Dourif. Of course, the voice of Chucky. He was in Cuckoo's Nest, Graveyard Shift.
Oh yeah, laundry list on that guy.
Yeah, I mean, this guy has been a lot of stuff, and it's funny because I think some of the information that I wrote down here, where Chris Carter had to lobby Brad Dourif to get him for this episode, that he was expensive than the usual guest star, but Carter knew he would be perfect, and he called the Fox president Peter Roth at his home on Thanksgiving to plead his case, and Roth agreed to it. mainly because he wanted to get back to his dinner. Yeah, that's pretty much it. That
Oh, that's funny. I mean, he obviously steals the episode, as
yeah,
he does in most everything he's in. So
I,
I think money well spent, in my opinion.
yeah, I thought it was a very intense performance, chilling, whatever word you want to throw in there. That is, I mean, Brad Dourif, he's a great actor, definitely underrated, and I've enjoyed him in a lot of films. I mean, of course, the voice of Chucky, but just overall a very underrated actor.
Yeah, for sure.
And he also had, were you gonna say something?
Oh no, I was just agreeing with you.
Uh, Donis Davis as Captain Scully, who I remember from Stargate SG-1. But he's been in quite a few movies too, like Leave Their Own and so forth.
He was Major Briggs on Twin Peaks. You bring that up. He's a pretty big
Oh,
member
for
of
real?
that cast.
Was he in that quite a bit?
Yeah, He's got a good plot line that goes through the whole show.
And I think he's passed away, but he was good here. I mean, for a little bit. The one scene that always the scene where you know in the beginning where you find out that he died, and then like you see his spirit sitting in the chair.
Yeah.
That scene was always like a little bit creepy.
Was that okay? They had left, and then he's in the chair, and then she gets a phone call that he's dead. Is that how it is?
Yeah,
Like, because she doesn't know he's dead yet.
yeah. That's it exactly. Yeah, the way you described it. Um, if I understand, like what he was saying there in the chair was the Lord's Prayer. Like he's
Okay.
mouthing it, but he's not. You can't hear no words.
Okay.
He's just kind of mouthing it. I didn't know that until after the fact.
Yeah, I didn't either.
Um, but you also have Scully's mom in here, played by Sheila. I'm going to try to pronounce this name, Larkinus, and she would go on to be in like 17 more episodes.
Okay.
And I think she came back for the revival, right? If I remember.
I don't remember.
Maybe. I'm trying to think because I think the way that she's credited at IMDb, like she came back later. But as far as like side notes and stuff, this is one of Chris Carter's favorite episodes. Um, one of Gillian Anderson's favorite episodes.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, this one was watched by 10.8 million people.
Wow. So quite a bit more than some of the previous.
Uh, the network was opposed to even doing this one, this episode here, one of the high watermarks of the first season, as they felt it traded too much in the shadow of the Silence of the Lambs.
I get that. I mean, I get it, but it's fine. I mean, if you're going to rip something off, it's good, right?
Exactly.
But I mean, this is really the Scully episode, of this season. Like, we really learn more about her personal life, and we're basically following her through her not only mourning of her father, but also working on this case. It's all kind of tied up together for her. So I don't know. It's a really nice episode for Scully. Not necessarily one of my favorites in the season, because it's a little boring in my opinion, but that's just me personally. I know a lot of people love it, but
What part of it was boring? I mean, like
I don't
maybe
know.
maybe the middle of it, or
Yeah, it just felt like not a whole lot was going on certain times. Lots of it's just dialogue back and forth for a good bit of the episode.
wow, we got a couple of the X-Files movie's great.
Oh, you got to watch Home.
That's a great one.
That's a great one, even if you've never seen the show before. If you're not a fan of X-Files, just watch that episode.
Hey, Derpy. I like that avatar. You know Derpy?
I don't believe so.
Um,
I'm meeting a lot of guys on your chat tonight.
But it's interesting that you brought that up because I think that's one of the reasons. Yeah, as the writers explained, this episode was written in response to the criticisms of the show's initially limited characterization of Scully.
Okay.
So this was, this episode here was all about Scully, and
so it was intended. It was written that way.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, like I said, I really enjoyed Brad Dourif's performance. I liked Don S. Davis in there for a little bit. I even like some of the scenes. I mean, for people that are curious, go check out, like, if you can on YouTube, go find some clips of Brad Dourif's performance here. It's very intense. Yeah, I mean, I just remember him being the highlight of this one.
Yeah, by far.
I mean, I don't know who played the killer in the episode. I forgot the killer's name. But I don't know. I mean,
yeah, it's kind of just, second note, right? It's really just, there at the very end when they catch the guy.
Yeah. Just trying to see if there's anything that I didn't mention here. Okay, Brad Dourif plays a serial. I can't talk tonight, people. Okay, Brad Dourif plays a serial killer on death row in this episode. He played a similar role in 3 episodes of Star Trek Voyager as crewman Lon Suter, a sociopath serial killer who had joined a rebel group called the. I'm going to spell it out because I don't know if I can get it right. MAQUIS. To channel his desire to kill. There you go.
I was never a big Voyager guy myself. I didn't really watch a lot of it, but
I do like Next Generation, but I haven't really seen a lot of Voyager and Deep Space Nine.
That's what I was Next Generation and Deep Space Nine myself. I haven't really watched a lot since either. I know they've done a few seasons. They did the one with Kevin Sorbo and a few other memorable captains. And I know it's back now, isn't it? Like Picard season 2 or something.
Yeah. Have you heard anything about that, or are you going to take a pass on that?
I've heard mixed things about it. Some people like it, but other people say it's really, I don't know, on the nose. It's
Speaking of,
a little Wrath of Khan.
Star Trek 4.
Oh, nice.
The Voyage Home. Is there anything else about this episode? What?
Oh, that's what I was going to say. Rest in peace, Kirstie Alley.
Oh yeah, that's right.
She recently passed away. She was in Wrath of Khan.
That was very sad to hear about her passing.
Was it cancer? Had she been battling cancer?
Oh gosh, what was it?
Seems like that's so common to hear these days.
Colon cancer, I believe.
Oh, okay.
And apparently, like she had been battling it like for a very not a very long time. Like it just came up quite sudden. But I mean, to me, this is a great episode. I mean, I can't remember. Like, I don't know if I have a lot of nitpicks. Maybe I could say, I mean, like you were just talking about in the middle there a little bit. Maybe you could have used a little punch up, or.
That's just me personally. I'm just saying because the rewatchability is not really there for, a lot of the long drawn out, dialogue scenes just for me.
And I do remember one moment where they're leading Brad Dourif to his execution, and doesn't he see all of his victims in the hallway?
Mm-hmm.
I really like that scene.
Mm-hmm.
I would say this is a great episode for Brad Dourif. This, if anything, watch it for his performance.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but the next one's interesting. Genderbender, episode 14. In this episode, Mulder and Scully begin investigating a series of murders following sexual encounters. The Toons soon discover that a member of a religious sect living in Massachusetts may be responsible. It may not be human. What are your thoughts on this one?
Were they supposed to be like Amish?
Yeah, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah, Amish.
I was gonna say Mormon at first. I was like, no, that's not right. Yeah, okay. That's kind of what I assumed. Um, I, I don't hate this episode. It's definitely not one of my favorites, but I think it's interesting. The entire premise is really interesting.
I thought honestly the religious sect, like the family, the like that was a kind of a little bit more creepy in what they were doing
Yeah.
than the whole like person and running around out there changing their genders, which now I don't know. Like,
Hey, it's before its time, right?
yeah, I was getting ready to say, like, what if this episode came out today? What would people say? I mean, what would be?
They'd probably find something negative to say about it. I don't know. Seems like that's how people are.
Maybe this episode's a documentary. Yeah, I mean, I thought this was a solid one. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
what's interesting is, or I mean, you have Nicholas Leah. Is that how I say his name? Nicholas Leah.
Yeah, that sounds right.
It would be Alex Krychak later on. I think in season 2. He has a bit part here, but as like a totally like random stranger.
I thought that guy looked familiar. Okay, that makes sense now.
Yeah, I just remember like when I was rewatching it, I'm like, is that Alex Krychak? But
Because
I'm like,
he's at the end, right? When he's in the car, and then is that right?
yeah, he's the guy that gets attacked.
Yeah, he gets attacked there at the end. Okay,
Um,
yeah, I thought that guy looked familiar.
yeah,
I meant to go look him up, but I never did.
but yeah, so the people that are remember the Alex Krychak character, that actor appears here, but as like a totally different character.
That's funny.
Uh, the character of brother Andrew, he's one of the main characters here. He's played by Brent Hinkley, and I remember, and I wrote this down here too. He was the character of Rick, and Falling Down. He was the manager of the Whammy Burger.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, it's that guy.
He's giving me like the Burbs type vibes. Like he could be in the Burbs family
Yeah,
in this episode.
yeah, he could be. Maybe he's related to the Klopex. uh, but he would have some bit parts in other films, like Silence of the Lambs and Ed Wood. The, I mean, one other character here, Sister Abigail. She's played by Michelle Goediger. I don't know what else she's been in. Um, now the gender bender, because you have a male and then you have a female. The male is played by Peter Stebbins, and the female is played by Kate Twa. And what I've discovered about the female part of the gender bender, she would appear later on in an episode of season 2
Oh, okay.
as a detective in the episode Soft Light. I don't remember that.
The character or the actress?
The actress.
Okay.
I don't know the character's name. I mean, it's on IMDb, but I just wanted to put that down as a note.
Well, that's cool. She got to come back.
I mean, I'm trying to. Okay, directed by Rob Bowen. I didn't mention that. Rob Owen, he directed like 90 episodes,
Wow.
and he would go on to direct the movie, and he also directed Reign of Fire for people that remember that movie,
Heck yeah.
and Elektra. Unfortunately, we all want to forget that one. So Rob Owen directed some quite some notable stuff here, and written by Chris Carter, Larry Barber, and Paul Barber. So I mean, is there anything that you remember about this one? I mean, is moments or
I mean, I like the opening sequence where you'd think it's just two people hooking up at the club, and he does his magic on her, or she does his magic on him rather, and yeah, basically steals his gender, I guess.
yeah? I remember the
It,
stuff at the farm being creepy too, where
yeah,
Mulder sneaks into the barn, and there's some like I don't know what was going on there, where Mulder was hiding in like this cocoon or some type of little like crawl
hmm
space.
yeah, I'd forgotten about that. I would have liked to have seen some of that fleshed out a little more. Honestly, like they could have made like 2 episodes out of this.
Yeah, that's what it
Like,
kind of felt like. I don't know what they
focus
were.
on those, focus on those weirdos on the farm more.
Yeah. Do you know what they were doing? I mean, were they creating like new? Because they suspected that the gender bender was this Andrew character,
Right.
but it was some other guy that went nuts. That was part of the family. Now, I remember the ending too being a little weird. You remember
Did
that
they
part?
ever? Did they ever actually say what was going on? Because I don't.
Yeah.
I
See,
must have missed it.
this is why I need to refresh a little bit better. I just remember too the ending being a little weird because the family had caught the guy in like an alleyway, and
Hmm.
then they just disappeared. You remember that
Hmm.
part?
Hmm.
Like, were they aliens? I mean,
They don't really tell you. And then they've totally the barn is empty. All
yeah,
the stuff that they had remembered like what a day before is gone.
yeah, because Mulder opens the door and it's like a brick wall or
Yeah.
concrete wall. Everything's
Yeah.
concrete in, and it makes you wonder about these characters.
Well, I actually don't remember this, but apparently there was a crop circle at the end.
Yeah, I
So I
remember
guess
that.
they are trying to say they're aliens then.
Yeah, I remember. I remember that moment. Now, was that before or after the ending where they capture the guy in the alleyway and they just kind of
I
disappeared?
think I think it was after.
Okay, I just remember that part and that part being very. It's like it makes you believe. Okay, I guess they are aliens.
Hmm.
But this is the first episode to be directed by Rob Bowen or Bowman, I should say. He would go on to direct 33 more episodes. Um, this episode was inspired by producer Glenn Morgan's desire for an episode with more of a sexy edge. The writers found it difficult to write a story that showed sex is scary and introduced an Amish like community. And it was seen by a 6 point alien. Wow, I just really said that. Yeah, it was watched by aliens too. Approximately 6.8 million households in its initial broadcast, and it was met with mixed critical responses.
Yeah, I could see that.
Now, Gender Bender was penned by freelance writers who initial draft focused heavily on the contrast between the farming community of the kindred and a version of city life with various sexual connotations. Influenced by the works of Swiss artist H.R. Geiger, the script went through various rewrites during the development process, including the removal of a scene where someone's crotch rots away to address
Oh, wow.
concerns about the content of the episode.
Well, now I want to see that scene.
Yeah. I mean, whose crotch are we talking about? I'd like to know more about that. I mean, if it was done practically, that would have been a
Yeah.
creepy scene.
You said H.R. Geiger worked on this, or
That's what it
was
says. Yeah,
okay?
influenced by the works of Swiss artist H.R. Geiger.
I'm
But I'm
trying to
trying,
think of what would they have used. I mean, where?
yeah,
Huh?
maybe like at some of the farm, where
Yeah.
boulders in that little
Yeah.
hideout or crawl space or whatever that was.
It's got to be it. Yeah. Because usually when you see his stuff, you pretty much know either that's his stuff or someone's ripping his stuff off.
Hmm.
It's pretty distinct looking art.
I just remember like rewatching this one again, like the stuff with the family, the Amish family was more creepier than the gender bender
The
killing.
actual killing going on.
Yeah. And I did thought, the entire time it was the Andrew character, but it was some other guy that went crazy on the farm
Mm.
and, ran away to the city and was changing his genders. And that's what I'm saying. Like, what would people think about this today if this came out? Again, it's like a documentary.
Either it would be well received or not well received at all.
Yeah. But I thought it was a decent episode. I mean, it's not like a favorite of mine,
Mm.
but I liked it quite a bit. The next episode, episode 15, Lazarus. And this one here, after an old partner of Scully's is wounded in a bank robbery, Scully and Mulder come to believe that the injured man has been possessed by the spirit of a dead bank robber. Did you like this one?
Not really.
I could see that.
Yeah, I was telling you, I may poo poo on some of these, but no, I try not to too much. But yeah, I didn't really care for it. When they finally reveal, what's happened, I guess it's kind of interesting, but
Yeah, I could see
definitely not
that.
one of my favorites.
I would say of the 8 here, the second set of 8 episodes, this one and the next one is kind of
Yeah.
very eh. Yeah, I understand they wanted to do something a little bit different here. I mean, it was directed by David Nutter, written by Howard Gordon and Alex Ganza, so you don't have Chris Carter here for this for the writing. Maybe that's one problem here. But in this one, you have the character of Agent Jack Willis, who was played by Christopher Allport. What did you think about him in the episode? Do you think he did? I mean, his acting, or
Yeah, I mean, I thought he was fine. I don't very rarely do I have a problem with actors on this show. Usually they get pretty good talent.
do you
I was just
recognize
looking at his. Oh, Jack Frost.
he was a Jack Frost?
Yeah, and Jack Frost too.
Now, is that the horror one?
Yeah.
Okay. And it was in To Live and Die in L.A. He was the
That's what I was
character of
about to
Max.
say.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I need to rewatch that film again.
Me too.
And unfortunately, I think he's passed away.
Yeah.
Is that the only thing you remember him from, or?
I mean, that I remember. Yeah, I mean, I'm looking up stuff that he's been in that I like. I just don't remember him particularly in it.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, he's got quite a horror catalog here. Dead and Buried, Savage Weekend, Invaders from Mars, Jack Frost. I guess Invaders from Mars is like sci-fi, really, but
And the character of Lula in the episode is played by Sick Varel, and that's spelled CEC. She was in Hell Comes to Frogtown, Roddy Piper. She had a bit part in Runaway, Tom Selleck,
Nice.
and the character, the bank robber Dupree, is played by Jason. I'm gonna mess up this name, but I'm gonna spell it out. Schombing. Shombing. I don't know. Can you see it?
I haven't pulled it up yet.
Oh,
Yeah.
now maybe you can give a crack at it.
Shombing. Yeah, that looks
Shombing.
right the way you said it.
And he's had a lot of bit parts and movies and such. I mean, I can watch the episode, but I can understand your feelings too on it.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like in the middle for me.
Mm-hmm.
Don't love, don't hate, just kind of mad.
It's kind of a, I don't know, kind of a cliche idea too. That is the bank robber's soul or whatever goes into Willis.
Yeah.
I
And
just feel like that's been done to death, you know.
now in the original script, it was that Dupree's spirit jumps into Mulder's body, but the studio argued against that, considering it too coincidental. Writer Howard Gordon later said that that was the right call.
Yeah, I mean, it gets to introduce a new character that we find out Scully was sleeping with earlier in her career. So another love interest of these two.
Yeah. I mean, how do you think that idea would have, if they would have went that direction?
They probably didn't want to portray their lead as any in any negative light just yet.
Yeah.
Maybe, I don't know. That may have been something to do with the. I didn't think we were going to get the last one, honestly. So.
Oh, you're talking about I Want to Believe?
No, the snow one.
Oh, the second one.
The second one, yeah. I didn't think that would ever happen. So
I've never seen it.
We'll give it a watch. I mean, it's worth that at least. I've got it around here somewhere on Blu-ray, I think.
Yeah, I've never. I mean, nowadays, based on the revival, probably not.
I think the revival is better than that movie.
I would say so. I mean, and there's some good ones in there that I know I'm dishing on the revival, but I'll give it another watch if we ever get down to that.
Yeah. There's some episodes that I like quite a bit, mainly in the last season.
Yeah, because I remember some of the monster episodes being good,
Mm-hmm.
but when it got to the mythology ones, and I'm like,
I agree. I just don't care anymore, you know.
Yeah.
Wrap it up, you know, and let's go.
Yeah, I think that's why too. Like, whenever it seems like David Duchovny and Gillian Anderson's asked about, a return, I don't think it's going to happen. What do you have any thoughts on that, or?
I don't know. I know. I think they're still pretty close. So maybe. I don't know. I mean, have they definitively said no, that it's over for good?
I think it's like, they're not going to do it without each other. Like if she's not in it, I'm not going to do it.
I agree.
Kind of like, but going back to this episode for a second, so the bank heist, and this episode was shot in a real bank.
Oh.
Preparations for filming took twice as long as usual, because it was a run up to Christmas, and the area was filled with Christmas shoppers. A lot of them dispersed rather quickly. However, when the filming actually took place, and many mistook it for a real bank robbery, most of them running away.
That's funny.
Yeah. this is the first time that Scully actually kills someone with her gun, and the first time that Scully gets abducted. Okay, so this episode here was watched by 7.2 million households in its initial broadcast, but received mixed reviews.
So we're staying right around that same number.
Yeah. Chris Carter likes it. He was very pleased with this one, uh, stating that it was a very good and well acted episode. I liked it because it actually seemed too real to me. I played it less as a paranormal science fiction show than as whether or not something could really happen. The entire cast was wonderful. Overall, that was a terrific episode. So Chris Carter likes it more than I do, but
Well, good for him.
I mean, is there anything that you remember about this one? I mean, I know you kind of feel bad about it, like meh.
I just don't. It's just very forgettable to me. With the exception of Willis being Scully's ex-boyfriend.
Mhm.
It's. I'm trying to even remember now. Yeah, sorry, I don't remember a lot about this episode,
Yeah, I
honestly,
don't
other than
either.
the main reveal.
I mean, I remember not minding the Jack Willis character, the actor. I don't think does a bad job,
No,
but I
not
just
at
think
all.
like the concept doesn't really feel paranormal. It doesn't feel like an X Files episode. I don't know what they were going for here. I mean, I get it's different, but
Hmm.
do you think maybe it's a bit too far fetched, or
No, no, I just don't care for the subject matter. Um, so I'm trying. Does he die of diabetes? He dies of like an insulin
yeah, I'm
spike
trying to
thing.
remember. I remember the character having like diabetes. Now that you mention it, um, because there's a point in the episode where he needs his insulin,
Yeah,
because the Lula character she turns on him,
right.
and that's what I remember. And I think the character does die, the Jack Willis character.
Hmm.
Um, but this is me trying to remember what I watched a couple of weeks ago. Uh, but
Apparently, the watch stopped at 6:47, the exact moment Willis died after the bank shooting.
oh yeah, it's
So
something to do with the watch.
yeah, they tied that up.
And I remember too in the episode where I think at the beginning, uh, after the bank robbers taken over the body of Willis, he goes down to the morgue and he cuts off the finger to get his ring back
Hmm.
of the bank robber.
Right.
I remember that part. Um,
Yeah.
I mean, I just kind of feel like it's just kind of like down the middle for me. It's don't like, I mean, don't love, don't hate
Yeah.
episode. And I think the same goes for the next one too. The Young at Heart, episode 16, and this one here. So when they aid a former colleague of Mulder's in an investigation into a series of robberies, it becomes apparent that the culprit is an old nemesis of Mulder, who had seemingly died in prison several years previously. And this is the one that I remember. The only thing that I really remember about this one was the salamander arm. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
something to do with the regrowth of. I remember that part. Uh, but Young at Heart, what do you think about this episode here?
I'm not a fan of this one really either. It's very forgettable again to me, and honestly, I'm having trouble even trying to remember what happens in it. Uh, what do you think?
That I'm kind of with you on the same boat. I mean, the only thing that really stood out to me, I mean, was that the killer. There were some kind of experiments here, with the killer, and at some point, I remember there's a scene in here where the killer's talking to Mulder on the phone, and he's like touching his face with, he has like a salamander arm.
Yeah.
Because of some sort of regrowth experiment to make him young, or something along those lines. But in the cast here, I mean, if we talk about the cast, the character of Agent Reggie, he's played by Dick Anthony Williams. And if you've seen this guy before, he's been in some other movies like Edward Scissorhands and The Jerk. The character of Deep Throat, yeah, he comes back here, which I forgot about. The cigarette smoking man, apparently, he comes back here. Then this is the second appearance of the cigarette smoking man.
I was gonna say this. He hasn't been around a lot, so it was what, the pilot and then this episode.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which I'm a little surprised that he didn't come back sooner, or he didn't. Like, he comes back here, but the episode's not that great.
I mean, considering how important he is to the series as a whole. Yeah, it's kind of weird. We've only seen him twice so far.
Yeah, I would have thought that maybe he would have came back and like earlier, like maybe back in Falling Angel, or something. If you hear something, it's my cat. Yeah, I know. Hold on.
Time for food.
I gave her a whole plate of Meow Mix. But maybe she doesn't like this episode either.
Yeah.
But the episode is directed by Michael Lang, who directed a few episodes of Northern Exposure. Back in the 80s, he worked on the TV show Riptide, which I've never heard of. Have you heard of Riptide? Or
that's a very generic name. It sounds familiar to me too, man. It's not like, I think of like Hulk Hogan on the boat. What was that? Oh man,
was that?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
I'm trying to remember like Riptide. I'm like, I don't even remember. I mean, I was born in the late 80s, but I don't remember Riptide. Or I've never heard of that. I've heard of Northern Exposure, but I've never seen it.
Yeah.
Then he directed some episodes of Bones, written by Chris Carter and Scott Kaufer. Getting back to the cast for a second. So the character of the Doctor in this is played by Robin Mosley. And he would actually reappear in some more episodes as different characters.
Okay.
The character of young John Barnett. I mean, I have his name right here, but I don't know what else this guy's been in. It's cool to see the cigarette smoking man here. Like, if I didn't look back at IMDb, I would have forgotten, honestly. But so at the time, Gillian Anderson was already pregnant in these episodes.
Wow.
But she did not show it yet.
I didn't realize she was in the first season. Okay.
And this episode was repeated on June 17th of 94, the night of the O.J. Simpson chase. So there you go. What the director said about this is what I found. Quote, he liked the script very much, and I think it stayed fairly close to the original draft. I liked it because it had a good spookiness to it. To me, the intriguing part was the doctor's research into being able to reverse the aging process, which I wish we could have explored more. And that makes sense.
That's really all I was seeing. Like they experimented with the kids that have that disease to make you age really fast. I saw it a minute ago. I don't remember it right off. Progeria.
Yeah.
It's like reverse Benjamin Button.
Yeah.
Which I guess that's kind of how he's able to do what he does. I don't know. I guess that's what we're supposed to believe there.
But yeah, I mean, I'm in the same boat as you are with this one. I mean, I don't know, even rewatching it again, I'm like, uh, the only thing that I really remember is Mulder going after this killer for, killing this one fellow officer or detective. And then, you finding out that this killer is using some kind of um, experiment or is under some kind of experiment and he has a salamander arm, which I thought was a really weird scene. And I know it's the X-Files, but
Yeah.
that's the only notable thing that I really recall.
Oh. So they use salamander cells.
Yeah, salamander cells. Yeah, that's what it was.
So that he has an actual salamander arm. Okay.
Yeah, because he's talking to Mulder on the phone and he's kind of like rubbing his face like this.
Yeah.
Or rubbing his eye or his nose. And you see like the fingers are conjoined like this.
Oh yeah.
I mean, as far as the effect of a salamander arm, okay, it's cool, it's practical.
Yeah.
Like nowadays, it would just be very bad CGI.
Yeah, it would.
But I kind of felt like the same as the last one. Like this episode to me was kind of like below average.
Yeah. I think we started pretty good, and then I gradually in this series of episodes got worse.
Yeah, it's like it started to climb, big high, and it's kind of like doing this here, like a peak and valley kind of thing.
Yeah, we're on like Beyond the Sea and was it Fire? Was that the name of it?
Let's see, yeah. The episode we had, if we go back, Space, Falling Angel, Eve, Fire, and then Beyond the Sea, Genderbender, what are we saying? I'm confusing myself here. Yeah, the gradual kind of downward trend here, especially after like Beyond the Sea, I would say.
Because I think they're all. I mean, all of those are pretty good in my opinion. Space, Fallen Angel, Eve, Fire, Beyond the Sea, and then pretty sharp decline there on the last three.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see what happens because I know we got 8 more to go. Yeah, with season 1, and I would say overall of the 9 through 16 that we've talked about tonight, I mean, Space I thought was decent. Yeah, I really enjoyed Falling Angel. Eve I thought was solid. Fire is a great one. Beyond the Sea is an excellent one. More so for Brad Dourif.
Yeah.
Genderbender I thought it was a solid one. Some creepy moments. 15 Lazarus, meh. I thought Young at Heart was kind of like average, below average.
Mm-hmm. Man, I'm looking at the next 8 here. We got some bangers coming.
Well, thank you for the comment. Thank you for watching. What were you going to say?
I was just saying the next 8 we've got, there's some bangers in there.
Yeah, I can't. Let's see. I actually got the DVD right here.
Oh, awesome.
So, what are we looking at here? EBE, Miracle Man, Shapes, Darkness Falls, great one. Tombs, Born Again, Roland, and the finale. Yeah.
I remember that finale being really good. I should remember it, but I don't.
Hey, I'm rewatching these like you. I mean, I have to go
Yeah.
back and definitely refresh on the next
Well,
day.
I'll try to be a little better prepared for the next date.
Oh, you're fine. And maybe like along the way, um, and we're open to some ideas too out there as far as like I mean, I've written down some notes here. Um, but if there's like things that maybe people want to suggest or for us to
Mhm.
add to these reviews, let us know.
You know what might be interesting is going back on some of those archived message boards and stuff when the show was coming out, because it was all kinds of conspiracy theories and what's happening, what's going to happen. So it may be fun to look at some of those.
Oh, you mean like there was episode forums back in the day, or
Yeah, stuff like that. And the show was pretty popular, so in the early days of the internet, people were talking about it already. So
yeah, if we could find those, definitely. Yeah, how'd you know, Queenie?
real
Yeah,
original.
yeah, he's the which one of us is smoldered Scully?
Yeah.
Um, but do you have any overall thoughts or on what we talked about, or
No, I think that was probably the weak point of season one, what we just went through, the weakest point, and then we're gonna finish strong. So that'll
yeah,
be good. I'm looking forward to it.
yeah, I look forward to the next date, and yeah, like I said, for people that go back and watch this later, if there's anything you want to, like as far as the future goes, review these episodes, like what we can add or to the
Hmm.
reviews and such. Um, but I just want to say thank you to Jay the Stingray for joining,
Absolutely.
and you know, for people out there watching, thank you for watching, and hopefully at some point here we'll get some other people in. Uh, I know that I think before we try to get Ryan in here, or I know he's a little bit busy and such. Have you talked to him?
Yeah, he said he was out of town for the holidays.
Yeah. Um, but maybe at some point here, we'll get him in and others out there that are fans of the show.
That would be awesome.
Um, but thank you guys for watching out there. Stay tuned for episodes, 17 through 24.
That sounds good to me.
And trust no one.